This week on I Watched This As an Adult, I review the 1984 action comedy Beverly Hills Cop.
So what would happen if four friends from Best Buy decided to create the greatest podcast in the world? You would get Underground Nerd Nation, of course. We mainly talk about topics related to nerd culture and pop culture, but you never know where our conversations may take us. Like the time we got in a debate over grading scales. You're bound to have a good time with Underground Nerd Nation, so come join the Underground. We got beer and pizza down here.
What were you doing in California anyway?
I was working.
Working where?
Beverly Hills.
Axel!
Hey, Mikey.
Oh.
Oh, you don't mind if I ask around a little bit, do you?
Don't do a damn thing. Stay out of this.
You know, this is the cleanest and nicest police car I've ever been in my life. This thing's nicer than my apartment.
I just got off the phone with an Inspector Todd in Detroit. He says if you're out here investigating the Tandino murder,
How you doing?
you needn't bother coming back.
You haven't the slightest idea who you're dealing with.
Look, all three of us are cops. We should be working together. Cover me.
Police! You're all under arrest!
You do that again, I'll shoot you myself.
Now, please something to drink, a wine, a cocktail, espresso.
No, I'm fine, thank you.
I'll make it myself right back there with a little lemon twist. It's good. Try it.
Beverly Hills Cop from 1984. This movie was directed by Martin Brest. The screenplay was written by Daniel Petrie Jr. The movie has a budget of $13 million and it brought in $316 million at the box office. The movie has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 83%. Let's talk about like the development of this movie. This movie has actually been in development since 1977. They've been trying to make Beverly Hills Cop since 1977. The original idea for the movie was about a cop from East LA who transferred to Beverly Hills. Then in 1981, the story was changed to be about a cop from Pittsburgh named Ellie Axel. That was the original name of the character. The original name of the character was going to be Ellie Axel, which I think that's a stupid name. And the movie was going to be called Beverly Drive. That was the original name of the movie. But then in 1983, the story was rewritten again. Now, the character was named Axel Ellie. They just switched the two names. Then he's from Detroit. Now he's from Detroit. With Mickey Rourke was cast in the role. So originally, Mickey Rourke was supposed to play the role. He left the project to go do another film. I think there was scheduling conflicts or something like that. Then Sylvester Stallone was attached to the project as the star and the writer. He took over writing duty also, with Stallone renaming the character Axel Cobretti. That was going to be the name of the character. He's going to be Axel Cobretti. But Stallone's idea was too expensive for Paramount. So Stallone eventually pulled out, and he used the story that he was going to use for Beverly Hills Cop, and he put it in another movie called Cobra, which came out in 1986. So that's what he did. And finally, that's when they rewrote the script into an action comedy, and the character was going to be called Axel Foley. Richard Pryor, Harrison Ford, and Eddie Murphy were the final actors in the running for the role of Axel Foley, with Eddie Murphy now eventually getting the role, and the rest is history. So, let's talk about how I saw this movie as a kid. I actually saw Beverly Hills Cop 2 first, which is weird. I know that's weird, but I was born in 1985. The original Beverly Hills Cop didn't come out till 1984. So obviously I wouldn't have been able to see it when it came out because I wasn't born yet. Even in 85, it was like I was born late into 1985, so I wouldn't have been able to see it then either, because like I think the movie came out in December of 84, so like by the time the movie came out, like it was a year like after I was born or some shit like that. I don't know how this works, but I was born late into 1985, so even then I wouldn't have a recollection of the first Beverly Hills Cop. Even Beverly Hills Cop 2, I saw like 3 years later after it came out, because my parents were watching it on like HBO or something like that. I think my parents were watching it on HBO, and that's how I saw it. By that time I saw it, I was like 4 or 5 years old. So like, and I could kind of, remember shit, at 4 or 5 years old. So that's kind of how I saw the first 2 Beverly Hills Cop movies. I saw them backwards. So, and I like Beverly Hills Cop 2 more than Beverly Hills Cop 1. And it's probably why, because I saw Beverly Hills Cop 2 first. So that's probably why I like it. So I saw I saw the 2 movies backwards. I believe I saw this one like on a random Sunday or something. I don't quite remember how I saw this movie, but it's still like one of my favorite movies. Like I love this movie as a kid. I love the Beverly Hills Cop movies. In general, I like those movies. So like I like this movie as a kid. I like Beverly Hills Cop 2, Beverly Hills Cop 3. The verdict is still out on that. You will know once I review that movie how I feel about Beverly Hills Cop 3. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about Beverly Hills Cop 1. So let's see how I feel about this movie as an adult. Last year, I reviewed Trading Places, and I called that Eddie Murphy's breakout role. I was like, this is the movie that broke him out. If Trading Places is Eddie Murphy's breakout role, then Beverly Hills Cop is what makes Eddie Murphy a star. Like, from the first time he's on screen, he has star written all over him. Like, this is the movie that broke him away from SNL. This is the movie that broke him away from Saturday Night Live. He went from Saturday Night Live cast member Eddie Murphy to Eddie Murphy with this movie. This is the movie that solidifies Eddie Murphy as a superstar. But anyway, Eddie Murphy plays Axel Foley, a wisecracking Detroit police officer who is searching for the murderer of his best friend. Think about Axel Foley. Axel Foley is just pretty much Bugs Bunny if he was a cop. That's all Axel Foley is. Axel Foley is pretty much just that. Like, if you had Bugs Bunny and you gave him a badge, he would be Axel Foley. Like, he pulls a lot of Looney Tunes antics Like a lot of I look at a lot of that shit. I look at a lot of the stuff that he does in this movie. I was like, this is something that would be in a Looney Tunes cartoon. You know, like seriously. We get a bit of Axel's origins in Detroit. You know, Axel is a cop that still keeps one foot in the streets. He's got 1 foot in the streets, 1 foot in the law. You know, like he still hangs out with like thugs, like his best friend Mikey, who just got out of prison. Like that's his buddy. He and Mikey have a kind of a weird relationship when you see them. Like there's actually a scene between them. There's a little bit of a scene between them in the bar. Between the two of them, like it's like a little suspect, you know, because like I think like Mikey was talking about like how he took a charge when they were like teenagers. I think they were teenagers, and Mikey was talking about how he took a charge for Axel and he went and served some time. And Axel was like, "Why'd you do that for me, man? Why'd you serve that time?" And Mikey was just like, "'Cause I love you, man." And like they kind of like stare lovingly in each other's eyes. I was like, "Yo, what y'all doing?" But anyway, Mike gets killed by Mike from Breaking Bad. Yeah, the guy that plays Mike from Breaking Bad is one of the villains in this movie, and he just straight up just shoots Mikey. Like, no, just. And it's kind of graphic too, because he shoots Mikey in the fucking back of the neck, I think. Like, cause like he takes Mikey's neck. I think he pulls like Mikey's head back, and he just shoots him right there, and you see the fucking bullet like come through his neck, just, you know, like all that shit. And Axel is there. Axel gets knocked out. When you know what I like about that scene? You know what I like about that scene though? I like that they don't make it this like long dramatic scene where Axel holds Mikey in his arms and starts crying and shit like that. Like there's too many of those scenes. Like I don't like when movies do that. I like that this movie doesn't do that, because there's too many movies where like somebody gets killed. It's like, oh my God, oh, and the guy's like, no, and he's holding the dude. He's like, come on, man, wake up. You're gonna be all right. Like, they're dead, bro. They're dead. Like, I like that this movie doesn't waste time with that bullshit. You know, I like that. Gil Hill is awesome as Inspector Todd, who is Axel's boss. He's Axel's captain. No matter what you think of him as a person, because if you don't know the history of Gil Hill, the real person, he was a pretty corrupt cop in Detroit. Like, he was involved in the White Boy Rick case. There's a documentary on Netflix about White Boy Rick. I believe I reviewed that documentary. I forgot what episode I reviewed that on, but there's an episode of I Watched This as an Adult where I reviewed the White Boy Rick documentary. And Gil Hill is very involved in that case. He's very involved in that. Like, he pretty much set that boy up. He pretty much set White Boy Rick up. You know, he's involved in the corruption that set White Boy Rick up. So like, he wasn't a good dude, Gil Hill. So really corrupt motherfucker. But he's great in this role. And I think he might have started the angry black police captain in movies, because I don't think I saw an angry black police captain in movies before Gil Hill, before Inspector Todd. You know, so he might have started that. He might have been the first. And then we shoot to Axel in Beverly Hills. Like, he just in Beverly Hills with no explanation. You know, like, just no explanation. Like, he just shows up in Beverly Hills. You know, like, we don't show him, like, get on a plane. I think he drove there. I'm like, how do you drive from Detroit to Los Angeles? Really? Because Beverly Hills is in Los Angeles. So, it's a long drive. It's a long drive from here where I am in Texas. I live in Texas, and it's a long drive from there to California. It takes a couple of days to get from Texas to California. Like, imagine how long it took for him to get from goddamn Michigan to California. You know, that had to take at least a week. You know, and I hope he had a lot of gas money. I'm like, they never really explained that shit. It was like, it'd be better for him to take a plane. You know, it would have been better for him to take a plane. He doesn't even take a plane. He just drives from Michigan to California. I never really understood that shit. But they don't explain the shit. They really just like, he's in Beverly Hills. Here you go. The movie has a lot of small characters that are funny. I gotta get this movie that this movie has a lot of small characters, like characters that are not here for very long, but they're funny. Like Bronson Pinchot. Bronson Pinchot plays Serge, who's like an art gallery employee, and like he's not in the movie long, but he's hilarious. He's fucking funny. He makes the most of what he's given, you know. Another thing here, they let Axel kiss a white woman, you know, in the 80s. Like, he goes to because the art gallery is not ran, but like I would probably say ran, because like she's kind of over it. It's ran by one of Axel's old friends, Jenny, and they kind of have a close relationship. Like I was saying, like they showed them hug and kiss. You know, like I was like, oh shit, I didn't even notice that shit. I was like, oh wow, I'm like, Axel kissed a white woman in the 80s. You know, like that was something that just didn't happen in that era. You know, a black man showing affection to a white woman in the 80s. But that was kind of the thing about Eddie Murphy, though. That was kind of the thing about Eddie Murphy. Like, he was black, but he was kind of like, you know, safe black, you know, because he was on Saturday Night Live and all this stuff. He did a lot of movies with white people, so he was kind of safe black. It was him and Bill Cosby, which I know is funny in hindsight now, but like it was what it was back then. Axel also experiences police brutality as a police officer, which is something that happens to black cops when they're not on duty. Like, there was a black cop story that I saw where like this cop was harassed. I think this happened in New York, where like this cop was harassed by the police, and he was like, yo man, I'm a police officer too. You know, why you fucking with me, right? And so like I think he had to flash his badge, and they was like, oh shit, okay, all right, we fucked up. So yeah, like, but that happens. It happens. So that happens to Axel, and he gets like dragged off to the police precinct and all this stuff. But it's how he meets Taggart and Rosewood, which are played by John Ashton and Judge Reinhold. This is something that people don't talk about much. Taggart was kind of racist towards Axel at first. Like, he was kind of a dick, a racist asshole to Axel at first, and he even hits him. Like, he fucking hits Axel, like, police brutality, bro. I was like, Taggart was a motherfucker, you know? And like, you can only imagine how he was with black guys that aren't cops. You know, I'm just thinking about that shit. Taggart was kind of a fucking racist a little bit. They had to soften him up a little bit, but I'm gonna get to that later. Because like, it's funny how they become like the best. It's funny how they become like the best of friends later. You know, because like, before Taggart knew he was a police officer, he was kind of fucking racist to Axel. you know, and then he found out he was a cop, and then like, oh, you know, he still didn't like Axel, but as they got to know each other later on, they start becoming friends. They start to get to know each other, but like I said, like that's pretty much fucking white people for you. But you know, it was like, hey, once I get to know you, you're not so bad, you know. But you know what? That's how the world should be, you know. Once I get to know you, you're not so bad, you know. Can we all just get along? Let's all just get along. Let's all just be one happy family. But anyway, Ronnie Cox is also here as Captain Bogomil. Like, he's a very, like, by the book captain, like, always follows the rules, and that's like the running gag with him. It's like, he's very by the book. He doesn't, like, he doesn't break rules and stuff like that, you know, like, kind of boring. I mean, like, Captain Bogomil, kind of boring. I think he's meant to be that. Julie, man, Julie was just throwing that coochie at Axel, man. You know, Julie was throwing it like a fastball at Axel, but like, this is still the 80s. They won't let that go too far, because it just makes me think. Because I think in the original script, not the original script, but the one that Stallone wrote, I think Stallone put Julie in his script. Julie was in his script. Julie was supposed to be his love interest. Like, Julie was supposed to be his love interest, supposed to be his girlfriend. So when Stallone left, they kept Julie, and they just made her Axel's friend, because now we got a black guy as the lead, and it's the 80s, can't have no black man kissing on no white woman. You know, I don't think there was a movie in the 80s. I'm really trying to think right now. I don't think there was a movie in the 80s where a black man got to kiss a white woman. And I'm not trying to be that guy. I'm not trying to be the guy who's like, oh, black men need to get white women. No, I'm not that dude, but I'm just saying, there was those movies, you know, like those type of movies in the 80s. I don't think that was ever a movie where a black man kissed a white woman. You know, I don't think that ever happened in the 80s. I'm trying to think of one out here. I can't think of not a one. I don't think that happened until like fucking Jungle Fever. You know, and like that came out in like 1991, and that was taboo. You know, that was a taboo thing. It was like a black man, and like, they had sex. They showed them having sex. So like, not only did that black man kiss that white woman, he got to have sex with her. So I ain't gonna lie, that was a hot sex scene. But I'm saying that for my Jungle Fever review whenever I get to that down the line. But because that is a movie that I have to get to at some point. But yeah, man, like that was a thing that just didn't happen. So like, they just made Julie his friend. But that actress had strong attraction to Eddie Murphy. Cause like, she couldn't stop staring at him. It was like, she was always up on him. She was always staring at him. There's a part where like they're in a hotel room, and like she just laying on the bed, just giving like Eddie Murphy them bedroom eyes, man. She wanted Eddie. I don't know if they fucked in real life. I don't know if they did the do in real life, but in the movie, I don't like, strong chemistry. She wanted him. But anyway, Damon Wayans makes a cameo, and once again, I say it's a short cameo, but he makes the most of it. He makes the most of what he's given, you know, like, and Damon Wayans goes on to be a big star, so you know, so that says something. Then we get the famous banana in the tailpipe scene. Like, I mean, who fucking thinks of that shit? You know, who thinks of bananas in tailpipes? Who think like that was some very Looney Tunes shit? You know, very, very Looney Tunes shit. Rosewood, because like he does it to Rosewood and Taggart. Like, Rosewood and Taggart, they get kind of goofy as the movie goes along, because like they start off as like these stoic cops, you know, like, but as the movie goes along, like they start getting real goofy, you know, because like they constantly get outsmarted by Axel. You know, it kind of makes them look dumb. You know, kind of makes them look dumb. But like I also think they do that to soften their characters up. You know, for when they eventually team up with Axel. You know, because like they can't be these stoic, low-key racist cops. You know, you know, like Taggart is kind of the cop that'll beat the black guy, and then Rosewood is kind of like the guy like, all right, Sarge, all right, he's had enough, back up, calm down, he's had enough, all right, you know, like that's Rosewood, you know, but Taggart is the dude that's gonna beat the black guy half to death. But like they had to soften those characters up so it wouldn't be so weird that these two really low-key fucking racist cops are teaming up with Axel Foley, who's a black man. You know, so they had to do that. This movie is considered a buddy cop film, but it doesn't really become a buddy cop film until like halfway through the movie. You know, because like that's when like Axel and Rosewood and Taggart like start to build a rapport with each other, and they start to trust each other because like Axel Foley takes Rosewood and Taggart to the strip club. You know, that's a funny scene. That's a little funny scene because he talks to Rosewood because Rosewood is like all in it. He just looking at them titties. You know, like Rosewood like titty over there, titty over here, titty. You know, and Axel Foley is just like, it's all right, man. It's all right if your dick gets hard, okay? He's like, it's okay if your dick get hard. It's fine. All right? So, like, Rosewood is just in heaven. You know? Taggart is trying to be like the stoic guy. He's like, I'm not looking at them titties. You know? But yeah, man, that's when they start to build a rapport with each other and start to, like, trust each other. Another thing I wanted to point out is that we don't see the villains very much in this movie. We don't see them a lot in this movie. Like, we see them at the beginning of the movie, and then we go at least an hour until we see them again. Like, cause like most of the movie is just Eddie Murphy doing his act, like doing his Bugs Bunny Looney Tunes shenanigans. You know what I'm saying? That's most of the movie. Like, this movie rarely has any fight scenes. You know, we don't really get a lot of action until the end. You know, like, it's like I said, it's just mostly Eddie Murphy doing his Bugs Bunny act. But like the villains are just very run-of-the-mill 80s villains. Like, they're like 80s like drug traders. Like, they're drug smugglers. Like, they're really nothing special, really. Like most of this movie is like a mystery comedy, you know, like, cause like it's just like Axel trying to solve the case, you know, but by doing like his little routine, you know, pretty much like he sneaks his way, talks his way into places. He's like, hey, you know about this and blah 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 and all this stuff, and then like, you know, and then he gets some info, and then he tries to take it to Rosewood and Taggart, and they're like, oh, what? And he tries to take it to Bogomil, and they're like, well, we don't have enough evidence. If you get enough evidence, maybe we can take these people down, and blah 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 blah. And but yeah, it doesn't turn into an action comedy, like I said, towards the end. Like, there's barely any fight scenes in this movie. There's barely any fight scenes. There's barely any action in this movie. Like, but I like how this movie is paced. Like, I like the pace of the movie. Is real. It's not boring, but they build to shit. Like, it just starts building. It's a movie that's building blocks, you know, until they finally get to the end. You know, all the jokes are still funny after like almost like 40 years later. I was cracking up. I was cracking up at all the jokes. All the jokes are really still fucking funny, like after all these years. Like, which is something that is rare when it comes to comedy that old, you know, but they pull it off. Like, when you can look at a movie that's supposed to be a comedy and it's still funny, like 30 something years later, you did your job, man. Like, that's a classic movie. That's a classic comedy. Like I said, like, it's still a great movie, man. It's still an awesome fucking movie. Eddie Murphy is on top of his game in this movie. Everybody else is doing their job. Everybody else on top of their game in this movie. Like, the weak part to me is Julie, you know, because, like, she really doesn't serve a purpose. Like I said, it looked like they wanted to make Julie the love interest to Axel, but this is when Axel was still white, you know. And then it was like they made Axel black, and they were like, "Oh shit, we can't be having that. We can't have no blonde haired, blue eyed white woman kissing on no black man." You know, so like that ain't happening. So she kind of just gets in the way. You know, she just kind of gets in the way. She's useless, really. But yeah, man. Like I said, other than that, still a great movie. Like, if you've never seen it, if you're a young person and you've never seen Beverly Hills Cop, and you know Eddie Murphy from like Today, where he's doing like Shrek, and what's that other movie he did where he was like in a spaceship or some shit with like Pluto Nash? You know him from like bad movies and shit like that. Go back, watch Beverly Hills Cop, and look at the greatness that is Eddie Murphy. I highly recommend you do it. Learn your history. I get this movie a 5 out of 5. Perfect fucking movie, man. I love it. I still love this movie. Join me next week, which will be the start of Halloween month. You know, I like to do those. I like to do those Halloween movies. The theme. I have a theme for this month. This month is going to be horror comedies. Okay, it's going to be horror movies that are funny. Horror movies that are funny. So this week, I'm going to be reviewing 1992's Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Until next time, peace.